All right, folks. So just as we were signing off on Thursday, the big, beautiful bill passed. And on the 4th of July, Donald Trump gave about a 23-minute speech boasting about the passage of this historic piece of legislation. We're going to listen to a couple minutes worth of that right now.
We're going to make official the greatest victory yet when I signed the one big, beautiful bill. And before I start, I want to tell you that I've never seen people so happy in our country because of that. Because so many different groups of people are being taken care of, the military and civilians of all types, jobs of all types. We're adding things like the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, child tax credits. So many things are being added that we wouldn't even have time to discuss them. When we were doing it, John Thune and Mike Johnson right there, I see Mike, what a job they've done. What a job they've done. But you know, it was supposed to be in 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 different bills. And I was on one of the fake news shows and I said, let's do it in one beautiful, big, we want one big, beautiful bill.
There you go.
I said that to this news.
One big, beautiful. Hey, I said, let's do it one beautiful bill, big. No, that's not one big bill, beautiful. No, that's it. One big, beautiful bill.
Newscaster. And I think a lot of the congressmen and senators were watching and they said, let's name the bill that, the one big, beautiful bill. And that's what we did. And what we've done is put everything into one bill. It's never happened before. It's the biggest bill of its type in history. We've never had anything like that before. Nothing like that they thought would be possible to get passed. And actually, I liked it because we had so much in there that no matter who you are, there was something in that bill that would make your congressman or your senator or your congresswoman, much more importantly, raise their hand and support. Right, Lisa? So
Lisa
that was something, and it
Lisa,
was really
you
something
almost
special.
fucked me on that, Lisa.
So the American people gave us a historic mandate in November. We won everything. We won the swing states, all 7 swing states. We won every one. That rarely happens. We won the popular vote. We won the districts, 2,750 to 505. That's why when you look at a map, it's all red, a little blue on each end, but it's all red. And by the way, red means Republican, just in case.
Yes, we know that.
But we made promises, and it's really promises made, promises kept, and we've kept them. This is a triumph of democracy on the birthday of democracy. And I have to say that the people are happy. They're happy. And I listened to a broadcast.
Okay, well,
if
the people, I hate to tell you this, according to the polls anyway, are not only are they not happy, they're quite unhappy with this bill. Every poll is against Trump's big, beautiful bill, even among Republican voters. So that's the spread. That's sort of an aggregate of recent polls. Washington Post, -19. Pew, -20. Fox, -21. Quinnipiac, -26. KFF, -29. Yeah, those are absolutely brutal numbers.
Look at Melania. You tell me any country on earth where you could start out doing softcore porn and wind up standing on the balcony of the White House as the first lady. This is a land of opportunity. We want to keep it that way, folks.
That's what the one big, beautiful bill is for. So here's Elizabeth Landers saying, I asked several Republican members after the passage of the tax cut and spending bill about the CBO analysis, the Congressional Budget Office, that millions of Americans will lose health insurance because of provisions in the legislation. Well, she tried to rain on their parade with some facts and information, but they were just too high off the fumes of having passed this bill. So here she is trying to talk some sense into some of these people.
Office estimates that a number of Americans will be kicked off of their health insurance over the course of a decade. Listen to an exchange that I had with a Republican member when I asked him about that possibility.
What about the Congressional Budget Office score, though, that there could be 11 million, 12 million Americans who lose their health care because of this?
Number, and it's the amount of times the CBO has been right. Oh, here it is. They're never right.
That was something that I heard from several Republicans. They do not trust the Congressional Budget Office. That is a nonpartisan analysis organization.
So they are never right. Well, here is the track record of the CBO. So it doesn't look like there are two lines there because, in fact, they are right pretty often. But here you can see the divergence, the difference between the CBO's and the administration's budget year projections of revenues and actual amounts. So as you can see there, they've got a
Pretty spot on.
pretty close record. Pretty close record. Here is their margin of error year by year. Now, the recession lines are those gray lines. So you could see, obviously, just after 2000, 2001, that's 9/11, which yielded a greater margin of error. Obviously, the 2009 financial crisis, a greater margin of error. And then 2020, COVID and all of the chaos coming out of COVID led to a greater margin of error in those years. Even in those years, it wasn't north of 4 points. But outside a cataclysmic event like that happening, they've been within 2 points of accuracy. So, in other words, no, they are not never right. This is the thing. These people, they just lie. They just make shit up.
They just lie.
Oh, they're never right. I mean, by never, we mean they're almost always right within 2 points, except for when there's a cataclysmic, unforeseen event like 9/11, a pandemic, or a market crash. Yeah.
Yeah, because their target audience just wants them to feed rage bait.
Right.
And they're not going to look into it. They don't care. No, you see, the CBO's never right.
They're never right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They don't want to
just say they're never
they
right.
Don't care.
Right.
Just say it.
Right. Exactly. Well, it's funny because, we saw that the polling was bad on the big, beautiful bill before these cowards fell in line. And here are some of these same cowards talking about what a horrible bill this is just a week ago.
What they did is unconscionable. What they did to our bill was unconscionable. I'll vote against it here, and I'll vote against it on the floor.
Spoiler alert, you voted for it.
You're going to hear a lot about the tax cuts, but the deficit, nobody's talking about the deficit. Nobody. I got it. The tax cuts are important. We are going to get the tax cuts done in some fashion. But we cannot saddle our children and our grandchildren with an exploding national debt.
Spoiler alert again, that same guy voted for it.
Do I like this bill? No, because I tried to take care of Alaska's interests. But I know that in many parts of the country, there are Americans that are not going to be advantaged by this bill.
She voted for it as well. These people are all useless cowards. These are all Pramila Jayapals. Yeah. Yep. That's Murkowski. These are all the Pramila Jayapals and the AOCs of the Republican Party. They're just useless cowards. All of them. All of them. Even Massey to some extent, because he voted to advance the bill to the floor.
He voted to advance it.
And then he turned around and voted no on it. But, yeah, even he.
And why
even
he do that? They're primarying you.
They're primarying you. Right. You're fucked anyway. Right. Exactly. Right. Like, once you decide to cross Trump that publicly and he starts primarying you, at that point, you got to hope that you have enough support for what you actually believe in to put you over the top in that primary. Like, to just go back and pussyfoot, no, I'm going to vote to advance it, but then vote against it. That shows the kind of weakness that gets you in trouble with your base. Because now,
like, clearly Massey is a choir boy. Because if he was not, AIPAC would have leaked shit by now.
Oh yeah, of course.
So what do they have?
That guy's clean.
What leverage do they have on you?
Yeah, no, that guy is clean as a whistle, no doubt. So here's a guy here, Republican Troy Nels, when I asked the same question about Americans losing health care. So here is Elizabeth Lander. She posts this tweet. So here is an exchange with Troy Nels from Texas.
Score and the idea that 11 million, 12 million Americans may lose health insurance.
Good optics there with the cigar in the hand, talking about how you just took people's health insurance away. And I don't know what those bandages are on his hands. I heard there was some sort of double fisting accident with Benny Johnson, but I can't confirm that. I mean, this would be evidence of that, but I don't know that for sure. I don't know why else he would have bandages on both hands.
I don't have any faith and confidence in the CBO. They're scoring. They're wrong half the damn time. I don't give any. No,
so
I'm not worried about the CBO.
You're not worried at all that Americans may lose their health care?
Oh, well, just some Americans that aren't Americans, and that is the illegals. Why should illegals be on Medicare? Shouldn't have it. We did a great job with it all. We did a great job. I appreciate it. The American people spoke. The American people spoke, and the elected representatives spoke today. And what did we do? We supported and passed this one big, beautiful bill. So now you got to accept it and absorb it because it's the right thing to do for the American people.
No, I wasn't injured. My job around here is to wipe Donald Trump's ass. I don't like to get it on my palms.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. It fucks up the taste of the cigar. Yeah. So, I gotta be very, very conscious of that. Turns out, though, even Troy Nels was promising that they weren't going to touch Medicare and Medicaid just months ago. So this is Social Security Works made this video, which then got picked up by the Humanitarian. Flashback to January 16th. Here is a guy, chasing him down on the Capitol steps here, asking him, hey, you're going to cut Medicare and Medicaid in this budget bill.
Congressman, hoping you could take this pledge to stand with President Trump against cuts to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Yeah.
So if
we support President Trump, they're not going to touch that.
In the reporting that I've seen, there's $2.3 trillion in Medicaid cuts and $500 billion in Medicare cuts as part of the reconciliation package. If that were to move forward,
You're talking about Medicaid now. We're talking about Social Security. Social Security has been part of reconciliation. You know that.
I do know that.
Okay, but Medicare, I'm sure there's going to be conversations about the Medicare.
About Medicare and Medicaid. So
Medicaid specifically, but
if there's cuts to Medicare,
well, we got to look and see what kind of cuts are there. Should people be getting Medicare and that are able to go out and work? Should they?
I love how they go from, no, we're not touching it. We're not touching it. To, yeah, we're taking it away from the illegals. To, we'll talk about it because really, do you need it if you're able to work? Should you get it? So it goes from, no, we're not touching it. We're touching it for the illegals. And then, hey, if you really don't need it, should you have it?
Yes, because it's an earned benefit. Medicaid is different.
I understand. These conversations that are going to be taking place over the next 30 to 60 days, and I think we are going to find a good bill on the reconciliation that the American people can support.
But
and it also can pass.
And the American people are soundly against all cuts to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. So I'm not sure that you could find a bill that has support with us.
We've got to find a way to save our country. That's what we do. We have to find a way to save our country.
So are you saying that you save our country by cutting Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid?
Remember, I just said to you just a minute ago, you ain't touching Social Security. It's not part of reconciliation, and you know that.
So just Medicare and Medicaid.
Again, we got to look at everything, but they're not talking about that. That sounds like, are you a Democrat? You sound like a Democrat talking point here right now.
My name is Alex Lawson. I'm with Social Security Works. So I'm just last question, and thanks for your forthcomingness.
Sure.
Can you just tell me how taking people's health care away lowers the price of groceries?
Come on.
Have a great day, Congressman.
Now that guy, it took that guy 2.5 minutes to tell the guy to fuck himself. This guy kind of cut more to the chase here. So here is Tennessee's Tim Burchett being asked about Medicaid cuts.
Die because of the cuts.
They're not going to die.
Big bill,
Quit lying,
dude.
dude. Why don't you get off my
that is the real that is the real story, isn't it?
It is not the
Billionaires
real
are getting
story.
tax breaks, poor people getting
You
health care
feel bad
cuts.
about lying? You're getting paid to lie.
Where's the lie, sir?
It's a lie. Show me where 17 million people are going to die.
Reputable sources have reported that when you knock people off of Medicaid, when you deny people health care, sir, that this is not rocket science. If you deny health care to people, they die.
It's also, if they would get off their ass and get a job, you'd probably.
So the puritanical notion that if you don't work, you don't eat doesn't work when there's an unemployment rate, sir.
Yep. That guy wasn't shy about it at all. Now, here's what makes this bill especially evil. And here's, how you could see, just what liars these people are and how cynical they are. Tax cuts now, benefit cuts later, the timeline in the Republican mega bill. So Republicans deferred some of their most painful spending cuts until after the midterm election. So the tax cuts are going to take place immediately, starting this tax year, 2025. The safety net cuts, as you look, food stamp work requirements potentially in 2025. New rules on health insurance start in 2026. Medicaid work requirements, December 31st, 2026. for most states. So that would be after the midterms. But then obviously the real whopper, the really devastating impact would be felt starting in 2028, because that is where the Medicaid and food stamp funding changes set in. And so you're going to feel some pain before the midterms, but most of it will be after. So a little bit of a more detailed breakdown on that. Food stamp work requirements. Many adults with children 14 or older must obtain work in order to qualify for aid. New rules for health insurance. So this is restrictions to qualify for subsidies and an end to automatic renewal. That will start in 2026. So some people are going to feel some pain there. They're going to make it a lot harder to qualify for ACA subsidies. They're going to create a lot more paperwork, a lot more red tape to cut through, and your policy will not automatically renew year to year, which means you're going to have to do that paperwork all over again every year. Medicaid work requirements. Many adults with children 14 or older must obtain work in order to qualify for aid. And then here's the big one: the reduction in the amount of federal funding states can use in support of their Medicaid programs. That starts in 2028. So what they're trying to do is they're going to try to hold the worst of the pain until after the midterms. And that's how you know what liars these people are.
Right.
Because they're not implementing the policy until after the midterms. They're not implementing the worst parts of these policies until after the midterms. If this was all great, why wouldn't they implement it all on an expedited timeline? Because they know that this is going to fuck people over.
Yeah,
and they know
let JD explain that. He looks. You see that meme with him, like the big bearded baby. He's not going to win anyway.
He's not going to win anyway. That guy's a total stiff. He's going to lose anyway, so let him deal with it. No, I thought this exact same thing. Like, they're really willing to just fuck JD Vance in 2028. But as you said, I don't think they really care. They're like, you know what? This is our chance to do this. They want to minimize the midterm damage because they would like to be able to perhaps do more. They figure, hey, if we could pull out a miracle in the midterms and, keep some legislative pull, maybe we could do another big, beautiful bill in a couple of years, right?
We might be able to legalize organ donation for profit.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Who knows what they'll be up to by then. But the fact that they're hiding this just shows you that, yes, they have ill intentions. They know they have ill intentions. They know this is going to be absolutely devastating for people, and they're going to try to delay the worst of this until after people vote in the midterms, which is why, if you're a Democrat, you really have to stay on message for a change and message on these Medicaid cuts exclusively, pretty much, because the fact that the worst of them don't happen until a year after the midterms, it gives the Republicans time to find some weird culture war issue that they can try and run on. But yeah, man, I mean, when you look, you got these guys. This just signals such arrogance to be out there with a fucking cigar, bragging about how you're taking away healthcare. Oh, Americans who are not Americans. It's just the illegals. No, it is not. No, it is not just for illegal immigrants. And by the way, by 2028, aren't you going to have all the illegal immigrants out? I thought we're not going to have illegal immigrants here anymore by the time you cut Medicaid.
They're all going to be gone by then.
Right. So why are you cutting Medicaid in 2028 if your mass deportations will be over by then? If it's only for illegal immigrants.
Yeah, I mean, James Carville, this kind of made the rounds. He did an interview, and not that he's the best barometer for predicting political trends. This is pretty much on track with what we've been saying, though. He's just, Democrats, all they got to do is play possum right now. In 6 weeks, 6 weeks, Republican Party's going to fall apart.
Right.
Now, yeah, man. You see what just happened tragically with this flood? A lot more things like that are going to happen. It's going to get to the point. Look, you always have your hardcore supporters where it would not matter if they are that partisan and that hypnotized into partisanship. It doesn't matter. They're going to stick to the party. You don't win elections on those people. You got to swing over a lot of independents to really get a mandate. As the impacts of these policies really start to be felt, look at, we didn't even get to it. There was too much news. Look at what's happening with these trade deals. He says, August 1st, any country they don't have a trade deal with, those Liberation Day tariffs are going to snap into place.
You already have inflation crushing people. Are they going to be happy about paying higher prices for all the things? Even with Vietnam, they made a deal. Vietnam's got a 20% tariff. Guess what? You're paying that. When you buy shoes that are made in Vietnam, you're going to pay 20% more. What do you think? Vietnam's going to pay it? You're going to pay it. When that locks into place for all these other products, and you have the impact of these Doge cuts striking in different departments, you're going to have more and more disasters. Yeah, I don't know 4 to 6 weeks, but I think Carville's right overall in his theory that this is, look, already you can't even get Republicans on board with this bill.
Right.
After all the propagandizing, all the pushing, the big July 4th balcony spectacle, you still can't get Republicans to go along with this. Nah.
No, I mean, look, his strategy from a cynical standpoint is probably the right one, especially since the Democrats are really not capable of making a case for themselves. Like, they cannot make an affirmative case for themselves.
That's the thing.
So all they can really do is hope the Republicans self-destruct. You know, we heard a lot of people, we heard quite a few Democrats cry about what a terrible bill this is once it passed. You know, maybe the week before this bill passed would have been a great week to go out and have rallies and have organizing events, pressuring swing votes in Congress on the Republican side not to vote for it. No, instead, what did they do? They spent the week calling Zohran Mamdani an anti-Semite. Right.
I was just going to say, what's going on with the Democrats is their ongoing war with the young and the energetic and the passionate wing of their party. The next generation.
Yeah.
Look, we are
figuring out how to rat fuck the rising star in their party. That's how they spent the week before this vote.
Right. Hey, we're not fans of AOC and all of these people. Do they more closely represent where the center of gravity has shifted on the left over the last several decades, whatever their failings and hypocrisies? Yeah, of course they do. And this has been going on since 2016, when that wing of the party, had the unlikely champion of an old man from the New Deal era leading it. They have been at war with this wing, and now really this is the final battle because, time catches up, man. These people are fucking dying.
Right.
They're dying.
Literally.
Yes, the future is with the Mamdanis, the AOCs, but they just will not let go of that baton, man. They are going to go down trying to do as much damage to any seeding of the future to a more left coalition. These are not radicals. These are not radicals. AOC voted for increased ICE funding. Most of the squad did. They voted for these aid packages for Ukraine. There are no radicals. That's too much for them. Anything that goes outside the death grip of Clintonian centrism is anathema. It is a bigger threat to them than the Republicans, and we see they fight that in a way they never fight Republicans. And they're going to keep doing it, even as time makes it inevitable that they lose.
Please clap.